the hell is this, a joke?
Yeah, that's the Speaker of the House talking about this latest delay in Obamacare. Joining us now is Lanny Davis. So, Lanny, what the hell is this, a joke? I mean, I'm serious. I hate to put you in defense of all things Obamacare, but you are the Democrat who comes on and allows us to ask questions. How can Democrats continue to stand behind a law that has to be delayed so many times?
Well, I never answer your first question. I always make a comment, which is that your 805 guest is one of the great sons any father could ever have.
I should point out that Seth Davis is Lanny Davis's son. I didn't want to, I'm thinking it's been rough for him to go through life that way, Lanny, so I didn't want to,
He has a lot of baggage to carry, the least of which is my politics.
All right, but now that was a very, very good public relations move to deflect away from the question.
Obamacare.
Yeah.
Look, guys, from a long time ago, I'm a supporter of this legislation. I support national health insurance for everyone. And this is messed up, broken, and we need to fix it. And I know that
stop, please stop.
Didn't do so well in a recent election in Florida, but it's the only message that is truthful, and that's another example of postponing this deadline.
But hold on, Lanny, I will let you speak, but let me just say to you, Lanny, I just read a thing where Celinda Lake, one of the top pollsters for the Democrats, I know you know Celinda, she's very respected.
Yes, I do.
She sent out a memo that said, look, Democrats need to run away from this. Do not endorse Obamacare. That they need to say, number one, it's flawed legislation and we're going to fix it. I think I just heard you say those very words. Is that the official Democratic message now?
I think Celinda is following me, or maybe the American people are following. No, this is just common sense. It's not Celinda, and it is broken. And why the president doesn't acknowledge that, and I've many times, because I represent a client, know something about this, the private sector has exchanges which can be used to fix this thing until they fix the government exchanges, and the government won't use the private sector. Repeat, Barack Obama knows there are private websites that can do this, and they won't use them, and they don't cost anything. So this is one of the ways you can fix it that they're not addressing.
Let me ask you about that. I just want to pull on this string a little further. Let's say I'm a voter in Virginia, and Mark Warner is up for re-election, and he says what you just said, which is, well, this was flawed from the beginning. Well, Mark Warner voted for that law. So here's what I'm thinking as a voter. Either Mark Warner voted for a law that he knew was flawed and broken, but he imposed it on us anyway without actually voting on a law that could be worked on and fixed, or he didn't know at the time, but he should have known. Either way, how is that a winning message?
Well, first of all, it wasn't flawed in concept because pre-existing conditions get about an 80-20 vote.
No, hold on. You said it was flawed from the beginning.
The flaw in the very, very beginning was imposing essential requirements that caused people to lose their policies, and I think avoiding or not using the private sector websites to supplement and help government exchanges. Anyone listening should decide, do you want to wake up in the morning and know that you'll never lose your health insurance? That's the concept of the bill. Mark Warner supports that concept. If his opponent says, no, you should be able to lose your health insurance.
Well, no.
You can't get insurance for pre-existing conditions. That's why we support the legislation.
And Lanny,
the rollout, the implementation was messed up.
It's a false choice because Republicans also agreed with those basic concepts. There was a lot of agreement, if you remember back then. The difference was what the Obama administration and Nancy Pelosi wanted to do that was so much broader that Republicans wouldn't go on board for. But they agreed in pre-existing conditions. They agreed on a lot of that stuff.
I always try to concede, even though I'm supporting the legislation. The Republicans never came up with a specific alternative that people could vote for. That was
because they were the minority in both houses. How can they come up? They were the minority in the House and the Senate.
Well, even in the House, they didn't vote for legislation that would insure people with pre-existing conditions and guarantee they never lose their insurance policies. However, I will concede to you that Democrats did not reach out to Republicans. The president did not bring in, I think there are sensible conservatives like John McCain and Lindsey Graham, I don't want to ruin their careers, who might have been able to go back to the Bob Dole approach, which was a private insurance system but was a national health system with an individual mandate, a conservative concept in the 90s. There were Republicans we could have worked with, and we didn't, and that was a mistake.
All right, so how do you fix it?
I think you have to go back to find a bipartisan center to do incremental national health insurance and try to find a way to get a bipartisan support for something.
Well,
if the Republicans won't come to the table to at least support a basic national health insurance system that gets us to 100% over a period of time, then there's nothing we can do. But I think there might be Republicans willing now to sit down and work that out. That would be my hope that the Democrats are able to do.
A national health care system?
A national health care
Are you talking about single payer?
No. I think we went for, by the way, we're not giving credit as Democrats, so we went for the conservative approach of all private insurance, no government option, which I supported, by the way. So there are Republicans who would support the approach of all private insurance using websites that have competition, marketplace forces, conservative principles.
All right.
But all of the imposed requirements that cause, I think, a lot of people to lose their health insurance might be better negotiated and maybe a more incremental approach rather than trying to get to 100% by March 31st. We should have been much slower in our pace, and we should have gotten Republicans and compromised a lot more to get more Republican support.
All right, so look, Steny Hoyer says embrace it. It's ours, we own it, we embrace it. So Linda Lake and you are saying, look, you should not embrace it if you're running for election. You should say it's flawed, but we're going to fix it. Really, which is the way that Democrats should go in this? Because there's apparently a division of opinion about this.
No, there really isn't. I think Steny Hoyer would agree that there's my goodness gracious, Maryland has no website.
But he says he says Democrats should embrace it.
Well, Steny Hoyer lives in a state that has no website after $400 million of federal money being spent.
He also lives in a state where there are no Republicans.
And Steny Hoyer agrees that we have to fix Maryland. We don't have a website. And in Maryland, we in the private sector offered to allow a private sector website to pick up the slack while the Maryland exchange put its act together. And they said no. Now there's a pilot program to try it after over a year. So Steny Hoyer would agree.
All right.
100% that we have to fix this, but we all support the concept, meaning most Democrats support the concept of national health insurance system.
Well, it's great. It's a great concept, but this is a law, and the law is a disaster. Concepts are great, but these guys are supposed to vote for laws and implement laws. It's not about concepts.
We got to leave
Democrats
it right
are in a tough political situation.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah.
Of their own making.
To win over voters when we say we messed up, but now we want to fix it. But that's the truth, and I think voters on many other issues support us.
Thanks, Lanny. We'll continue the conversation next time you're on. And make sure you tune in at 8:05. Your son will be here.
I will, for sure.